Okay, we are calling this council meeting to order. It is 7:46 PM on Monday, June 17th, and we will begin by playing the national anthem. All rise, please. So we will adopt the agenda with the following changes: that we will move the in-camera number 5 and number 6 reporting out of in-camera till the end of the agenda so that we can move forward with the rest of the agenda and tack that on at the end, as long as everybody's okay with that. Okay, so the motion comes forward from Deputy Mayor Fody, seconded by Councillor Jameson, that the agenda be adopted as amended. All those in favor? All those opposed? And it's carried. Thank you. So we'll have a declaration. Any declarations of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof, please declare it now. Okay, nothing. So we'll move forward with number 7, which is consent agenda and adoption and receipt of minutes. So motion comes forward from Deputy Mayor Fody, seconded by Councillor Jameson. The May 13th, 2024 and the June 3rd, 2024 public meeting minutes be adopted as circulated. That the May 13th, 2024 council meeting minutes, June 3rd, 2024 committee of the whole meeting minutes, and June 3rd, 2024 special council meeting minutes be adopted as circulated, and that the April 30th, 2024 committee of adjustment meeting minutes be received and filed. Any errors or omissions in any of those minutes? I see no hands, so I'll call the question. All those in favor? All those opposed? And is carried. Next item is staff reports. So the motion comes forward from Councillor Jameson and seconded by Councillor Maybe that council approves staff reports as recommended at the June 3rd, 2024 and June 17th, 2024 committee of the whole meetings. So is there any comments to be made, and go from there? Go ahead, Councillor Brown.
Yes, I'd like to pull 8.4.
So we'll pull 8.4. Anything else? No. 9.4 is zoning bylaw amendment, Kehoe development. No. So. Sorry, do you want 8.4 or 9.4?
Under staff
I was just gonna
reports,
say
I'm showing 8.4.
Oh, on the amended agenda, it's 8.
Oh, wait a minute. Let me refer to this piece of paper.
Wait.
Let me see.
I just want to make sure I'm pulling the right
I'll tell you
thing.
here. 9.4.
9.4,
Yeah, I'm
okay.
sorry. I was reading off my computer.
Sorry. Okay, so the motion is that council approve the staff reports as recommended at the June 3rd, 2024 and June 17th, 2024 committee of the whole meetings. So Councillor Gorell, are you asking to have this one voted on separately, or you want to discuss it before we accept the reports? It's up to you.
I would like to open the discussion again, and if that requires a vote, then so be it.
Well, as of right now, it's part of all the staff reports. So if you would like to amend this motion to have that considered separately, then that's a separate motion.
Yes, I would like it considered separately.
Okay. So the amendment is to consider 9.4 separately. So. And so that's made by Councilor Burrell. Who is seconding that, if anybody? Go ahead, Councilor Kellerman. Okay, so we'll vote on the amendment, and the amendment is to consider 9.4 separately. All those in favor of that? All those opposed? And it's carried. So the amended motion is that council approve the staff reports as recommended at the June 3rd, 2024 and the June 17th committee of the whole meeting minutes. But we'll consider 9.4 separately. All those in favor of the motion at hand? All those opposed? And it's carried. Okay, now we will have the motion to accept 9.4 zoning bylaw. Who wants to move that? Maybe, and then second, Lackey. Okay. Okay, so the motion is coming forward from Councillor Maybe, seconded by Councillor Lackey, that we approve the 9.4 zoning bylaw amendment application Kehoe Development, Inc. And that would be approved. So that motion is on the floor. And if you'd like to speak to it, Councillor Burrell, go ahead.
Thank you for the opportunity. As I said earlier at the committee of the whole, it is troublesome to me that this expansion is that potential expansion, but I think that was addressed by the planning department, and that would be a matter for future councils, I suppose. Having heard the public comments, I guess I just wanted to, it wasn't appropriate to address some of them when they were speaking. And I thought I would like to address some of them now, starting with the concept. It was kind of highlighted that the provincially significant wetland had been evaporated. That is not true. It was rejigged, and by significant people, the Ministry of Natural Resources. There were a lot of accusations made in the public comments about untowardness and so on. That is not for us to determine. There was the idea, when you look at the map and even like an aerial or whatever, you see that the old River Rat Marine, which it was determined was allowable in terms of industrial or light marine construction, whatever you want to call it, it actually curves around and hides most of the residential properties that we were being asked to rezone. So with the storage, which I have to admit looks rather abhorrent at times, I don't really care for it, but it's the nature of the business. But we're not going to get rid of that because it's already allowed, as the Photon consultant highlighted in the last comment. The residential properties that we are being asked to consolidate into the industrial class 2 are basically hidden by a parking lot and above ground, or pardon me, above ground, out of building open storage. So there was a lot, in my humble opinion, a lot of misconceptions still floating around there with the general public. I strongly sympathize with what they're saying, but I simply don't feel still that there's a way around that. The closest was Joe Dandelli when he said this should move to the OLT. He almost had me, but then I thought, I don't see that they are going to rule against Ministry of Natural Resources, Ministry of Environment, Culture and Parks, the CRCA. I just find it that they may say, yeah, we're looking at you and the residential issues. We're not happy about that. But when it comes to all of those other reports and peer review, I just don't understand how an independent body could arrive at anything else, personally speaking. But the public still, or many in the public still think it's not a good idea. Thirdly and lastly, when you read everything in and take the text and you see all the good stuff and you see pretty pictures or renderings, not pictures, pretty renderings of how Kehoe is going to amalgamate with the St. Lawrence Park Commission, and they're going to put up beautiful natural fencing, and they've had this allowed. When? 20 years? There's no date. You know, I've watched, they were supposed to put a fence up there years ago. It was part of the program. It didn't happen. And if it did, their shrubs are about 2 feet high or something. I'm exaggerating, but they don't do anything to hide or mitigate the outdoor storage. So could we at least put some time frame to that stuff? Could we at least say, hey, you're obligated to do that first? You know, why does it have to be 10 years from now? Let's do it now. Show us the goodwill, because otherwise it'll never happen. So why don't we make that a condition? You want conditions? There's one. Put up the fencing, the whatever, however, and the renderings make it look pretty sweet, but I have my doubts. Because I will say, I fully sympathize with the general public that we saw in here and the landowners around. I just have a different way of viewing it, that if we turn this down, I don't think it solves their problem or their concern. That's what I'm thinking. So I will vote for it, but I want it on the record to say that I don't think our vote tonight on that changes a lot of things, some of those homeowners. Now, there would also be people that are protective of general conservation and so on, and the official plan and so on. That's another issue. And there was a lot of that going on there. You know, if you separate out the issues, it wouldn't matter if it was Kenny Kehoe Marine or whatever. They were just saying, respect the official plan. And that's where Joe was saying, hey, if you take that to the OLT, they'll tell us whether we're going to respect the official plans of county and us and so on. And so in my thinking, I still believe that they're not going to do that. So I'll be crucified, I suppose, for saying my opinion, but that is my opinion, and I'll stick to it. I just think I would like to see those mitigating circumstances put into play. And I think we can do that. I don't know why we can't amend. We do it all the time. Just put an
So-
amendment or a condition. Thank you.
So if that's what you're proposing, then it would be that we approve the Kehoe Development Inc. with the consideration that the screening, the natural screening be completed by the end of the season in 2024? Is it? Sorry, go
I
ahead,
wouldn't-
Madam Planner.
Thank you, through you. If I may, that is something that we certainly can do. We've already had discussions with Kehoe's once their approval came through from the Parkway in terms of the permissive encroachment within that area. So we've had some discussions about the size and caliper of the trees to
Yeah.
go in. We can certainly look at the timing of that, and if there is council direction to do so, we can, it would be included in the site plan control agreement, but if there's a timeline that council would like to see, we can certainly include a timeline such as that. It would typically be 6 to 9 months within the site plan control.
It would, I'm sorry if I might. So rather than in the zoning amendment that's before us, we could would we direct staff
They could
under
go in
site
through
plan
site-
control to just change the order of business kind of?
The zoning bylaw requires the landscape buffer.
Uh-huh.
the site plan control is the mechanism for the implementation of that. So through the site plan control agreement, we can require that that buffer be constructed, establish a timeline and sort of a minimum threshold for that buffer. In addition to that, we can take financial securities to ensure that it's completed.
Are you comfortable with that being done through site plan control?
I would be, I guess, yes, thank you.
Go ahead, Counselor Jameson.
First of all, I'd like to thank Councillor Gorell for a very, very clear-eyed presentation during the committee of the whole. The clear-eyed analysis and the clarification on the CRCA position that I now understand. He went to a great deal of trouble to try to find out. I was going to say the train left the station on this property, but I think it's inappropriate. I think the boat left the harbor on this property about 50 years ago. When you look at the pictures, the old pictures of that property and how it was used prior to its current iteration, it was an awful mess. And we've seen pictures that have shown railroad tracks running into it. And God knows what they were dumping into it. And the environmental protections that are in place now, or temporarily given state of the government we have at the moment, actually bring more protection to requirement to the Kehoes today than they would have 40 or 50 years ago when we weren't even thinking about this kind of stuff. So here is a business that was existed for some time now, but previous that property was used in a similar fashion. And so my question generally is I can't go back 150 years as some of the people seem to hear this evening, but I want to know what the heck they were doing 40 years ago about the waterfront. And it sounds to me like they weren't doing anything. We could cut environmental problems on the St. Lawrence River by banning any outboard motor over 10 horsepower. I mean, there are all kinds of things you can do that have nothing to do with what's going on here. So I'm being somewhat facetious, but I want to say that the clear-eyed presentation was about the technical part of this application, which seems to be very clear. And while I too empathize with the residents and the issues, I just do not want to see us go down the road of a tribunal, because that would be, in essence, putting us in a position to spend tens of thousands of dollars, and we're bound to lose because there is really nothing in the technical side of this that says no. So to Councillor Gorell's point about, can we encourage our citizens, the Kehoes, to look at this in the most practical way? I hope they will do that. I'm not sure whether we can, regardless, we talk about site controls or anything else. If they don't want to do it, they won't have to do it. The reality is that we had a job to do. We've listened to this for months. We can't affect zoning across the street. We can't affect next owners. We're going against the rule of law. It's that simple. So what we have to hope is that in the current context, that the applicant that I support in this motion will in effect do the right thing and try to rebuild their relationship with the residents, particularly the ones across the road, in the best possible way they can. And that's all we can do, is encourage them to do that. Thank you.
Any other councillor, maybe go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and through you. I happened to be driving past the property earlier today, and to your point, I believe I've seen a number of cedar trees that are already planted along the front edge that may be 5 feet tall. And as they grow up, it'll do a great buffer zone, since we have some on our own property that do the same thing. And as I noted earlier, I'm not opposed to this development in any form. That's not my nature. I have had many businesses and have perpetuated a lot of things too. My vote is only because of the residents. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Fody.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you. Obviously I voted no at the committee of the whole. I wasn't satisfied tonight at the committee of the whole of what I deemed a future control, or I guess site plan control would cover some of this. And I agree with Councillor Grell's request here tonight. But the word industrial, we asked to change this zoning from to rural industrial special exemption. The industrial is my stumbling block, has been all along. And I wasn't satisfied at the committee of the whole tonight of anything different in the future if we passed this. And that right there was my change of heart to intentionally I'd planned on passing this, but I will still vote against this. As stated by the planner, and I know right well with Kehoe's astute business that that they will carry on. And for that, I'm grateful. I would like to weigh in as Councillor Gorell had stated on a couple of comments I had asked for permission to earlier, and that's fine if it was denied. Some of the speakers at the committee of the whole were recklessly arrogant in pointing out that the mayor and Councillor Lackey should not have been at this vote here tonight. And that wasn't for them to decide. Legal opinion that both members, both the mayor and Councillor Lackey had sought were, I suppose, looked into, and there wasn't a question. If that had been legally the case, a pecuniary interest, one or neither would be here. So I think the public, because of their aspirations of wanting the vote to go a certain way, doesn't mean you should disparage people on your own opinion. I think you have to, the word of law kind of has to weigh in here. And there was other comments made to a number of us, myself included, I gather, that we hadn't looked at that property. I parked my idea of morning is 5 a.m. I have parked my truck in various locations on that parkway in the past 6 months, winter, spring, last fall, as recently as about 3 weeks ago, just to see what I could see. So the fact that we didn't sit around a kumbaya campsite and agree with each other that we're all on the same page doesn't mean that we hadn't observed or taken into account what was going on down there. So I just wanted to make those comments. Thank you.
That would be considered an illegal meeting, just to say, if we all sat around a campfire, and I'm just being clear with the clerk here. So any other comments in regards to this? Go ahead, Councillor Conlon.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you. I just wanted to follow up on, I did issue or state a number of issues I had with the staff report. I am not taking issue with the professionalism of our staff. Our staff are spectacular. I think they have a scope that they can work within, and that's the planning process. And so a lot of these issues they couldn't address. We as council can look at the bigger picture. We can take into account the anecdotal evidence. We can take into account what we think this township should be for the future. We can take into account perception and precedent. We as council can do that. I don't expect staff to do that. I understand what their parameters are. And again, I think it was a very detailed report. I do think it did show some bias, but that's just my perception. I am not saying that staff was biased in this case. And I would like the vote to be recorded again, Madam Clerk.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Go ahead, Councillor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. There was one thing that was said at the meeting also about some of us not attending site. Well, I had gone down there at least 2 years ago and had a personal tour of the whole premise before the new office was made, as well as attended one of the public meetings down there, in which Councilman Kelman showed up toward the end of my stay there. And a lot of residents were in the room, and they were firing the questions and they were answering them well. And I commend you for having those public meetings on your own property and having residents who were very engaged, I'll put it that way. But again, I am pro for what you're doing. You are doing a great job, and a lot of people there, but thank you.
Okay, So I'm going to call the question on this, and Councillor Kelman has asked for a recorded vote again, so we'll do that. Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Counselor Kellman,
No.
Counselor Lockie,
Yay.
Counselor Correll, Counselor Jameson,
Yay.
Counselor Maybe,
No.
Deputy Mayor Fode,
No.
Mayor Smith Gaki.
Yay.
4-3, the motion is carried.
Thank you. So we'll move forward with information items. The 10.1, 10.2, 10.3, and 10.4. So the motion comes forward from Councillor Kelman, seconded by Councillor Gorell, that the information items be received and filed. Any discussion on these information items? Go ahead, Councillor Maybe.
I had a couple questions on 10.1, which is the Sealy's Bay Fire Hall. Most of it is a really good report. I was actually quite pleased to see that it was as good as it is. One of the things that one is the columns at the front. Is there a post underneath those brick columns? It wasn't indicated, and they didn't have any drawings of the previous build of that which would indicate that the bricks are not the structural support for it. So it would be nice to have clarity on that, because that would change how quickly you have to fix those bricks to support that roof. One other thing they talked about, aluminum siding. Well, I believe it's actually steel siding, aluminum soffit and fascia maybe. And again, that changes how the building responds to climatic conditions, just to be a little more clear there. But generally speaking, with a little bit of concrete work in the basement, and that's another question, is there truly a basement in that building, or is it just the ground floor and the upper floor?
Go ahead, Director.
Thank you, through your worship. The columns, I do believe that there is a wooden post underneath the
Yeah.
brick.
Makes sense.
They felt satisfied with the condition of
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
we monitor it, and it's something that we can easily repair. I agree, it should be metal siding instead of aluminum. And then there is a basement for half of the facility.
Okay.
The back half of the
Yes.
facility, when the addition was put on, does have a full basement that the elevator runs down into.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
But the front half where the fire
Yeah,
bays are
solid.
does not.
That's what I thought, and that's why I was getting a little, wanted clarification on it. And then the block that's actually got some issues is in that basement. And as I said, there's no structural support issues. So again, a lot of things that can be fixed very easily, fairly inexpensively. Some of the costing might be a little different, but certainly a good report. Thank you.
Any other comments about any other information items? Deputy Mayor Fode, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through, I'd like to hear colleagues that want to weigh in on 10.3. Personally, I think we should support this for the very reasons that are pointed out in that short letter to us.
So is there any consensus that that needs to be supported? I'm just trying to figure out which page it's on. Sorry.
That's the one from Township of Alnwick Alderman
10.3. I'm just trying to get to the page number here.
regarding the Freedom of Information Act protection.
Yes. So, there it is. Okay. The information items be received and filed with a letter, and there would need to be an amendment. It needs a separate motion. So we would accept them, and then we'll put forward another motion. So any other questions on items under information items? Go ahead, Councillor Kalman.
Thank you, Your Worship. And through you, on item 10.4 regarding the royal assent of amps in the Building Code Act, maybe the Director of Planning could clarify. We're already using amps for building code violations. What's the difference with having royal assent or not?
Go ahead, Madam.
Thank you, through you. So just for clarification, we are using amps, but we're using amps for municipal act bylaws. So while we have a property standards bylaw under the municipal act that allows us to do some things as it relates to building code enforcement, it's under the municipal act, so it's not building code. So if the building code was given royal assent in terms of the amps, it would give us more flexibility in terms of prosecutions. It would be an easier way for us to do some of the enforcement we could do before going to lengthy, costly court charges. So it would be something that would help us if it was supported.
Is that?
Then I would recommend that we support that one as well.
Okay. Do we need two separate motions or just a motion to support both of those? Okay. Okay, Counselor, maybe go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My next comment's 10.2 on the paramedic service. I was quite astounded to see the call number, which was very high. It just out there, and let alone the offload delay, the 1753 hours. Like that's a lot of hours, and it certainly impacts the care that we're getting for our residences, and that we are the third highest call area for the Leeds 1,000 Islands. But again, we have great services, great personnel. It's such a needed service, and it's just what can we do to help get it to a better situation where there's not so much delay in offloading. So, with population and the growing seniors, maybe that's another reason, but as well as the lack of medical staff within the hospital. So it's a double-edged sword. There's all kinds of things that kind of play on it, but very good report. And I was glad to see those numbers. Thank you.
Well, and I'm going to make more of an effort to ask the staff at the county to put these types of reports to council members, not just in our municipality, but they aren't necessarily always great about sharing the data or underscoring why this is important. We are the third largest municipality, so having the third number of calls is not unusual. But we're very grateful for those first responders when we need them the most. And I know that there's more plans as time wears on how we can work with community paramedicine and a number of different things that they want to do. So it was a great report that needed to be shared. So any other comments or questions? Go ahead, Deputy Mayor Foding.
Thank you, Worship. Through you, a question to you at the county level. Is there any discussion because of the ramped up requirements from paramedics and such? Is there any discussion on increasing danger to those same individuals? Because needles and whatnot, you read constant reports scattered throughout the country, not on just this side of the border, where people that are drug induced, for the lack of a better qualification, are lunging at these first responders with loaded needles of who knows what. That puts a lot of these firefighters and such as our own firefighting staff in serious harm's way. I mean, there's more. At one time it was just an AIDS issue. There's a lot more to this than that now.
So all I can say is that is at the forefront of health and safety, and there is constant monitoring for that. And obviously our first responders, paramedic, fire, otherwise, are always put in that sort of potential danger at any call. You have no idea what you're walking into. So I can't say that we have an answer for it, but I do know that there's increased awareness, increased training, and obviously if anybody has an incident, it's all well recorded, well documented. And that's also why the WSIB self-insurance cost for the counties has gone up so exponentially, because when people go off on long-term leave because they're ill, maybe because of something like that, every society pays a price as a whole as well. So
Thank you.
okay, so I'm gonna call the question that the information items be received and filed, and then we'll go on to the next motion to have letters of support for the two other items. Oh, so I need an amendment to this then. So I need to remove 10.3 and 10.4 from the accepting the report, because we're gonna deal with them in the next motion. So Councillor Kelman, you want to do that? And who would like to second that amendment? Bodie. Okay. So the motion is that the amendment is that 10.3 and 10.4 be removed and considered separately. Okay, so the motion or the amendment is by Councillor Kelman, seconded by Deputy Mayor Fodie. 10.3 and 10.4 be removed and considered separately. All those in favor of the amendment? All those opposed? And that is carried. So the amended motion reads that the information items be received and filed except for 10.3 and 10.4 to be removed and considered separately. All those in favor of the motion at hand? All those opposed? And it's carried. Okay, so moving on to, thank you, Madam Clerk. So the motion would be that council provide letters of support for items 10.3 and 10.4 on the June 17th, 2024 council agenda. Mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Kalman, Deputy Mayor Fode. Any discussion on that? Seeing none, I'll have the clerk, I'll call the question. All those in favor? All those opposed? Thank you, and it is carried. So the clerk and I will work on letters of support and we'll get those sent out right away. Moving on to action required items. So motion comes forward from Councillor Grell, seconded by Councillor Kelman, that the council approve the award of tender OPS 2024-011 for the rehabilitation of the Carding Mills Bridge to Willis Kerr Contracting, my goodness. Contracting Limited in the amount of $295,044.17, inclusive of the net HST. Motion is on the floor. Discussion? Deputy Mayor Fode.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you. I know this question came up last month. Either the CAO or Director of Operations didn't answer me again, just to clear my head as to why some of these bid submissions are hidden as to the actuality.
Go ahead. CAO.
Thank you, Worship, and through you. So there's been recent developments in the law. It's ever evolving. The Canadian International Trade Tribunal has been supporting confidentiality of bidders more and more in different aspects, and particularly when it comes to commercial confidential information. And so they are, there's a line of cases out there that are now wanting to preserve pricing and all that because it can affect the competitive advantage of an unsuccessful bidder. So in the case in this, it's a tender. And so the sole criteria here was price. Lowest price will win. And so we identify all the bid prices, but in order to preserve the confidentiality of the bidders, we are listing the unsuccessful bidders by submission number rather than listing them by name, because the theory that seems to be popular right now with the Canadian International Trade Tribunal is that knowing that bidder 4, their price was $344,000, just to put it into context. Knowing that could somehow cause a prejudice on them for future bids, because all their competitors know what their bidding is and what their price is. And so remarkably, this has been backed up by the Canadian Court of Appeal, Federal Court of Appeal, in a decision where I forget which trade agreement, might be the Canadian Free Trade Agreement or the Canadian European Economic Trade Agreement. There's a requirement under procurements that are done in compliance with that, either trade agreement, that you have to publish the name of the winning bidder and the contract value. And in this case, it had to do with COVID vaccines. And the federal court supported that despite what a trade agreement requirement is, bidder confidentiality would have been violated because you could reverse engineer what that particular manufacturer's vaccine costs were from their bid price. So that would prejudice them commercially. And so it was supported by a federal court saying, no, you can't do that. You forget what the trade agreement, confidentiality trumps that. So in this case with the vaccine, it was like, we need 1 million vaccines and the winning price was $1 million. So everybody could see, and you figure in the margin and all that sort of stuff, they could figure out what the cost to produce a vaccine for this manufacturer was. And the court found that it was enough to override transparency and trade agreement protections to make sure that the bidder's commercially confidential information was preserved. So what we're doing here, and they're doing it at the county as well, is they are anonymizing their bids wherever they can for the unsuccessful bidders. And that's where we are.
Go ahead, Deputy Mayor Fode.
Okay, I appreciate the clarity, but let me give you another scenario on a reverse situation. If we were all standing in this room at a live auction tonight and you didn't know anybody else was bidding, but the auctioneer kept knocking you up the ladder in the reverse order here and taking you from 344 to 429, you would like to know whether there's a legitimate bidder against you or not. And that's where I'm coming from. This lack of transparency, I'll be honest, it really looks like a woke idea. But the point is, in my humble opinion, there's a great way for this submission 2, 3, and 4 to come in at a lower rate, bid a little lower. You've all had the same information. This bit about their numbers being released has a negative effect on them. They were all given the same information at the bidding time. So I'll go along with the legal opinion, but I'm still not satisfied at the cloak of secrecy that's provided here. Thank you.
Go ahead, follow up.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you. So it's staff's job to evaluate all the bids. And so to a certain extent, you have to trust us to do our job and make sure that there isn't games being played. Because there are that, from time to time on procurements. Our job is to structure the procurement appropriately so that you minimize the risk of games being played. But at the end of the day, the evaluation team looks at the bid. Is it legitimate? Is it a real bid? Is it from somebody that can actually deliver on what they say they're going to deliver, and so on? So we go through all of that analysis on every tender and RFP that we do. And we come to council, and if we had doubts or if there was an anomaly or anything like that, we have mechanisms in place to either disqualify a bidder, or if something is really fatally flawed in the way we design the procurement, we always have the right to press pause, cancel the procurement, rejig it, and go back out. So there are mechanisms in place. I know it's always been this way where everybody's price. And, when you're talking, in the tender world, it's lowest price wins. When we're doing RFPs for consulting services and that sort of thing, price is just one factor. It's given a weight. It might be 40 points out of 100 and all that. So at the end of the day, price isn't the determining factor. It's all the other evaluation criteria. So experience, work plan, expertise, the whole bit. And so to just simply qualify an RFP for a service based on price or disclose price, it really doesn't have the full value. You can rank your bidders, but you don't necessarily need to disclose what their price is, just that they weren't successful at the end of the day. As long as the winning bidder is within our budget that was approved by council, that's what's really, where we go.
Councillor Lackey, go ahead.
If I might, worship through you, just a question with regards to one of the last ones to sort of kick this one into play was, I believe, when we asked for a consulting bid, we were given the names of the companies, but only one price. Now we're giving no names of the competitors, but we're giving prices. So which
way
one are
are-
we doing?
So on services, as I said,
Because the last one, it was a little bit cloudy, to say the least. And I'll come to that outside of council, unfortunately, but I just want to know which way we're going, because I'm along the lines of the deputy mayor, is if you want to deal with open and transparent and bid on public buildings or whatever it may be that you're bidding on, I would think you're coming into that with open eyes that, hey, I got to be open and transparent with everybody too, as a contractor.
through your worship. So I'm sorry if I wasn't clear. So on the tender contracts where it's lowest price solely, that determines who wins. We're providing the tender prices so council can see what the prices are, but we're anonymizing the unsuccessful bidders. On other types of RFPs for services and whatnot, where it's not, price isn't the sole determinative factor, we're providing the names of who bid, but not their unsuccessful bid prices.
Counselor, maybe.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and through you, my biggest question is, where is Carding Mills Bridge? Because I was kind of trying to figure out where it was, as well as what kind of transportation delay will that give in that roadway?
Thank you, through your worship. Carding Mills Bridge is located on Jonas Street.
Okay.
One of the concerns that was raised by Councillor Kelman is that, we have the turkey fair that happens in
Oh, yes.
Lyndhurst in the early fall. So we don't want to impact traffic as a result of that. In terms of timeline, we haven't received their schedule at this point
Right.
to determine what their work plan looks like. They will provide that to us at the beginning of the project, and then we'll make sure we put our notifications out for any impacted traffic.
So that bridge is a dual roadway, concrete bridge, if I remember correctly, with a rail. So this is a total refabrication or just a touch up?
So we're not completely removing the bridge.
Okay.
We're rehabbing it, and we're upgrading the guide rails that are currently substandard for the current standards.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna call the question on this one. All those in favor? All those opposed? And carried. Next item is moved by Councillor Correll, seconded by Councillor Kelman, that council approve the award of the township's portion of tender OPS 2024-014 for the 2024 hot mix paving program to G. Williams Paving, Inc. in the amount of $262,276.22, inclusive of the net HST. Discussion on the motion. Go ahead, Councillor Kelman.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you to the Director of Operations. I just had a question in your report. You said that you contacted county to ask that the contract be combined with the South Lake Road contract, and they rejected it. Why did they reject it?
According to the county, their contract is too big to take us on. They felt that it would be too much of a hassle. So yeah, we went it alone. We reached out to Gananoque as well, and they didn't unfortunately have a paving program this year. So we were on our own. Additionally, we reached out to the St. Lawrence Parks Commission, who was interested in doing some paving at the Ivy League campground. So we're able to work together on that one. But yeah, the county, they just I don't know, not sure.
Deputy Mayor Fody.
Thank you, Your Worship. I detect the hesitancy to acknowledge my hand. I can't help, I have to say, I can't help but think the Director of Operations, a seeming response from the county was that they were too big to take us on. I would like to know where all that pavement is landing, because it isn't really obvious.
We're getting off track from the awarding the tender. I will neither, yeah, I'm not just gonna wade into that. I have my own opinions and they are what they are. Whether I disagree or agree is not on the public record at this point. So, I'm going to call the question. All those in favor, please signify. All those opposed, and it's carried. There we go. Hot mix is done. Next motion, moved by Councillor Kelman, seconded by Councillor Correll, that council approve option blank as the naming right for Mapleview Landings as described in Administration 2024-012. So if you will refer to the report, there was a number of options. Dining room, we just a quick refresher, and for the people at home who haven't read the report necessarily, we gave $30,000. It's already been paid in full. We do not owe any further funds to them. It was allocated through our additional funding we had with the casino, so it did not come out of our tax levy. So there's the options here is a dining room for 30,000, 2 sunrooms for 15, 3 dining balconies, 3 living rooms, or a bunch of residence rooms. So it's up to you, to council. So I'm gonna, you know what, for the sake of time, what would you prefer, Councillor Jameson?
Bathrooms,
Oh.
because as you get older, you have to use them more, and they,
Not on the list. Please make your
okay.
choice.
Dining rooms, because
Dining
that's
rooms.
number 2. Okay.
Okay. Dining room, so it will be 1 dining room. Councillor or Deputy Mayor Fody?
Your worship, thank you. Through you, I just have a question for clarity. How are they being named?
There will be a sign, a plaque on the room saying it's the Township of Leeds and the Thousand Islands Dining Room, if that was the choice.
Okay. I just had to ask in case other jurisdictions were nominating it in lieu of somebody's name from their township.
No,
No.
no, it's, the funds came from the township as a whole, so it would be named for the township.
I would go with dining rooms just for the sheer volume of traffic going through to see it. Thank you.
Okay. Counselor maybe?
I actually had thought about that too, but then I went to sunroom, dining room, and 2 residents.
Okay. Counselor Lackey?
Thank you, worship. I was thinking more along the lines as they were all very important things to have. I was more gonna lean towards the fact of whatever they need names on the most. Let them.
Well,
pick
they've
what-
given us this choice, so that's why the report is structured the way, so we are being asked to choose.
Well, I like Counselor Mavis.
Okay. 6. Combination, yes, so don't, easy, it's already been a long night here. So I've got 2 for the option 6. I've got 2 for the dining room, and then Counselor Kelman, what do you want?
Dining room, number 1.
That's 3. Counselor Grow, what do you want? 6. Well, I'm gonna go with option 6, mainly because it means that our name is spread around more and more visible throughout the home rather than one. So does anybody have any major objections to that? And that's how you get a motion through. So I've put in that Counselor Kelman and Counselor Gorell move that the council approve option 6 as the naming right for Mapleview Landings as described in Administration Report 2024-012. All those in favor? All those opposed? And that is done. Next item. Moved by Councilor Rowe, seconded by Councilor Kelman, that council directs staff to sign the memorandum of understanding with the Rockport Recreation Center in the form attached to report number, the administration report 2024-15. So, everybody had a chance to review that. Just as an aside, the organizers from Rockport approached myself and brought forward the fact that this agreement had sort of lapsed and languished and everybody was still doing the work and that was fine, but they had some suggestions for some changes which actually reduced the burden, the administrative burden here, which we graciously, happily accepted. And I thank the Director of Operations and the CAO for creating that new agreement so expeditiously and getting it done. Thank you. Deputy Mayor Fody.
Thank you, Your worship, through you. Do we know what year that children's playground was installed?
Director of Operations, do you have a date on that? It wasn't.
Or
that
even
long
an
ago.
approximate? It was recent, wasn't
I would say,
it?
didn't we?
It doesn't look old, but
I want to say we replaced it already, did we not?
I'm wondering if it was done at the
Is
same
it in the
time.
asset management plan?
I will have to find it in the asset management. plan.
Okay,
Okay, so-
I didn't know if it was done the same time as the pavilion was installed.
It's the only communal space in Rockport, and
Right.
I think the goodwill gesture from the township has always been that we maintain that structure along with access for the public.
Okay.
Any further comments or questions? Go ahead,
I
Councilor.
did have one ask from the operations director that just before the Terry Fox run that's there, that the grass gets cut. It wasn't last year. Thank you.
The challenge is always in the summer or in the winter. In the fall, we lose all our students, but it's noted. Any further comments or questions? Seeing none, I'll call the question. Oh,
The
Director.
Rockport Community Center playground equipment was installed in 2006, according to our asset management.
oh,
plan.
pardon me. I know we replaced 2. Placed one in Sealy's Bay and another one in Lansdowne.
Recent.
Oh, I was thinking it was Rockport. Anyways, but it is inspected and maintained semi-annually, I think,
All playground equipment is inspected monthly.
monthly. Okay. Sorry, all those in favor of the motion at hand, all those opposed, and it is carried. Next item is Moved by Counselor Jameson, seconded by Counselor Kelman, that council recommends that the United Counties of Leeds and Grenville reduce the speed limit on Lyndhurst Road Bridge of the Village of Lyndhurst and the address the safety needs of Furnace Falls Bridge. Discussion on that motion, Counselor Jameson, go ahead.
Just want to point out that the discussion about the speed on the road and some safety measures on the bridge has been going on for a very long time and precedes my time living in the area, but certainly before 2018, the LRC, Lyndhurst Revitalization Group, that previously existed wanted something to be done. I know that we have requested through the mayor that council or that the town or the county address these problems, particularly the bridge. But it's kind of coming to that point after years and years and years where something should be done. And it is very true. If you spend any time sitting on the bench in front of Wings, which I often do, watching the traffic come down winter and summer, it is quite remarkable. The volume and the speed, I think, is far greater than it should be. So is there a way that we pass this motion, but, you know, we recommend something to the county? How on earth can we get them to move on this, please, your worship? Thank you.
Before I take other comments, I'd like to make a statement. At the last county meeting, Committee of the Whole, there was a capital report done on what's been done and what's still pending and whatever. And I apologize for not providing that to you. If you go back and watch the video, you can hear my frustration and my absolute disappointment that this item for the bridge repair, for safe egress for pedestrians and everything else associated with that bridge has been on the docket since 2019. It is not acceptable that they are letting the oldest bridge in Ontario go to want. It has, I understand that good things take time. There's a sign in my office that says the same. However, what really comes down to is the fact that it doesn't feel like anything is organized right now. I appreciate this and I would be happy to bring this forward and happy to speak to county council again about our extreme disappointment that this project cannot move along in an expeditious manner. Because my comment that was very clearly made is that safe egress over the board or over the bridge where it is now, where the way it is now is important. Because if they don't get around to actually repairing this bridge for another 2 years, are we going to wait for somebody to get hit? They need to put up a flashing light on either side of that bridge with a button to push so that someone can walk across safely and not get hit by a massive, whether it's a seed truck or a tackleberry truck or a bell box truck. It doesn't matter. It's not wide enough for a human and a truck. Sorry. I am very agitated about this, not with you, Councillor Jameson, but I'm fairly fed up. And anyways, the residents of Lyndhurst deserve better. This is a county road and a historical monument. Go ahead, follow
So I
up.
just want to follow up by saying thank you. I appreciate it. It is very irritating for the people that live there. And I appreciate that a lot of things go into black holes up at the county. It took us 2.5 years to sort out the problem with the sign at Sweets Corner School. It was a ridiculous dance. So we can, you know, people complain to me about what they think the township does and doesn't do. But this is about safety, and it's been just dumb luck that no one has been hurt on that bridge. There is absolutely no reason to.
Councillor Rowe, I'll
Thank you.
recognize you and then anybody else.
I find it interesting listening to the arguments and understanding that bridge from attending a turkey fair. It is astounding to me that given the potential litigation of someone getting injured on that bridge, that the county, of which we are a part and pay, and we'd be paying, it astounds me that someone hasn't brought up negligence, if someone gets hurt there, maybe we can ask someone from the county ops department to come here and explain to us how they feel about the issue of negligence and what would happen and who's responsible. And maybe we should put that in the letter, because we wouldn't tolerate that. We're always dealing with negligent issues here, suggesting you can't do that, got to do that. And whenever we talk to our ops department here about road width, it's got to be this, got to be that. Good Lord, that bridge wouldn't qualify. And it's a beautiful thing. So the county's being awful to push that aside and think, it's been like that forever. Well, someone's going to get hurt. Thanks.
Right. And Councillor Calma, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you. I obviously agree with this. I've had several conversations with residents this week about this. I've told them, I've reiterated what the mayor said, that there has been action on our part and particularly on the mayor's part to try to get county to address this several times in recent months. I don't understand because it's just in keeping with all of the other villages in the area, including Delta, including Athens. The county road that goes through those villages, the speed limit is 40. I don't know if this is something we could do. I have suggested to individuals. I don't know, having lived myself on the main street in Lyndhurst and my parents have lived there for 35 years. This has always been a problem. Speeding has always been a problem. I don't know that reducing the speed limit by 10 kilometers an hour will make any difference. I do think a flashing light at the bridge would make a big difference to reduce the speed. Enforcement is a big issue. At one point, my dad had a construction light in his garage, the old blacksmith shop on the main street, and it flashed and people slowed down coming down the hill from the east into the village. I think if there was a police presence there more often, it would make a difference. And I know in other areas, I've been told that if there's a high enough volume of complaints from residents about speeding, the police will respond. They will set a quota for a certain number of tickets that they need to issue in order to show the residents that there is a presence and they are doing something. So I don't know if we as a council could ask the OPP to assist in this, or if it's just good to keep telling residents that maybe that's also another avenue to go. But I absolutely believe we need to keep pursuing this with county as well.
Well, I thank you for that. Councillor Lackey.
Thank you, Your Worship. I think some time ago, Councillor Kelman brought forward a motion in requesting that you bring that forward. And I think it was agreed that an amendment was added that should they decline, that we look about doing something on our own, some way, shape, or form. So perhaps another question to be asked is, if we are forced to do that, are they willing to pony up to whatever we do?
We would have to have their permission to do that work on their roadway.
No, it wouldn't be on the roadway. I said an alternative on our own.
Oh,
It has nothing to do with the county road.
Oh, you're
It would be
talking
a
about another
township
bridge.
driven.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a whole other thing. So I think at this point, the motion that's on the floor, which is to look at reducing the speed and address the safety needs of crossing Furnace Falls Bridge, we'll go with that to the county. And should that not provide fruit, then I guess there's other discussions to be had. Councillor or Director Holiday.
So similar to what happened on Prince Street, when the speed reduction was requested by the residents, the county will be looking for us to approve at the lower tier level, the reduction of speed. For some reason, I'm unable to get the program to work, but we do have a program that we use that I submit through to council, and then you guys either approve or reject that, what the result is of that, and then we push that through to the county. And that's what we had done on Prince Street previously. So I think that's what they're looking for from us.
So I guess the expectation of response and timing is the frustrating part, because they move at the speed of smell. Anyways, so I'm going to call the question on this. All those in favor of the motion at hand, all those opposed, and we're carried. Madam Clerk, with your indulgence, I'm just going to read my mayor's update before we lose everybody online, and then we'll go in camera if that's okay with you.
We're going to be going back.
No, I know, but I didn't know if people would stick around, if you're okay with that. Oh, I'll let you go before I do the update.
Just that other business is that I've had some inquiries about the gravel roads. So, to Director Holliday, what is the schedule for grading the roads? Because I know there's a lot of other things that the staff are doing also, just so that I can give a clear answer back to them.
Thank you, through your worship. We've had some challenges in the last month or so. I'm just gonna be straight about it. The Seabrook Road, City of Kingston portion, we really we got pushed by the city to get that completed well in advance of our proposed schedule that I provided a copy to council. So that has taken a lot of our resources in order to have what we needed to prepare before they put the focus on the whole section. And that put us behind on everything else that we're doing. We have just completed our gravel resurfacing and we're in the process of doing our calcium. So the calcium, when we put that down, we grade the roads and that will help hold it a lot better than us. You know, we grade it, it rains, we have to go back out and grade it the next day, and we have this fun game back and forth with Mother Nature. So we're hopeful with the completion of our calcium chloride program that you know, we'll actually see some wins and be able to move forward with
So
our gravel roads.
just as a follow-up, has any of the calcium started yet, or is it just about to?
Yes, we have completed about 50% of our calcium at this point, and we're hoping to have everything wrapped up, I believe, by the end of the month.
Thank you. And then just one other is the brushing. I know some brushing has been done on some roads, but not all roads. And again, there's a set schedule and timing for all that too.
Yes, so brushing for us, there are two camps when it comes to brushing in the summertime. Some people like to see you brushing, and I think others think that we're butchering trees. So we try to keep that balance of not doing too much when the leaves are on. We had a fairly aggressive program in the last year where I think we completed the entire north end of the township, and we're working our way down County Road 32 right now. If I'm not mistaken, our next step is Pilo Road, and then we're going to work down 32 and across the south end, and hopefully have everything wrapped up, if not this fall, then the spring. And then it'll be maintenance after that point.
And then just one other follow-up that I've talked about before is when we do brushing, and some of the ditches are very deep and a little hard to navigate. And I know we have some new equipment. Does it articulate enough to get into those deeper ditches and get back? Because I'd personally love to see it right back to the fence line cleared, so that you got some good time frame to deal with these. But
yes, so you know, historically we've used a tractor with a sidearm on it, and in the last year we've engaged Hackberry Construction to help us out with their rubber tire excavator. What we found with the rubber tire excavator versus what we use, you know, they reach about the same distance, but we're getting 5 times the amount of work done with that piece of equipment. The equipment's just faster and stronger, and we're able to get more done. So by using that in addition to our own, we're able to accomplish a lot more and get it back as far as possible.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'm gonna do through the mayor's update very quickly, and then we'll go in camera, and then we'll come back and do the bylaws. So the Ivy Lee Wharf ribbon cutting ceremony is taking place on June 19th, which is Wednesday at 4. There will be a public information meeting for the new treated water storage facility in Lansdowne on June the 19th as well, but that's happening at 6 till 8, and that will be here in council chambers. Please visit the website for project information, and there will be lots of information shared. So we welcome all those who want to attend. June 21st is National Indigenous Peoples Day. On this day, we recognize and celebrate the history, heritage, resilience, and diversity of First Nations, Inuit, and Métis across Canada. The Lyndhurst Wetland Viewing Platform ribbon cutting ceremony is also taking place on June 21st at 10 a.m., which is Friday. The Schoolhouse Jam in Rockport is taking place on June 24th, 1 to 10 p.m. at the Rockport Rec Hall and under the 22nd. Sorry. Yeah, I've got 1 to 10, right? Sorry, I had the date wrong. Thank you for the correction, Councillor Grell. So June 22nd, and that's a Saturday, happening down in Rockport. Always excellent music and a lot of fun, and lots of things that you can bid on and by and all sorts of stuff, and the great place for the kids to play. I just also want to recognize the efforts from the fire department for Father's Day, the barbecue that was here yesterday afternoon. I was able to be here early on, but not later on. My understanding is a couple of other counselors were able to attend, so I appreciate that the effort that went into that, and hopefully they raised some money for the Big Brothers and Big Sisters, very important organization in all of our communities. Also want to recognize fire for their excellent response last evening. Those of you who may or may not know, there was a fire at the Glen House Resort down on the Parkway. The good news is that it was caught very early. The response was very quick. The fire was put out very quickly and the damage was minimized. I went down to see one of the owners, Dave Seal, this morning just to check in. No one was hurt. But he couldn't say enough about our firefighters. So thank you to each and one of our volunteers who answer that call and train to be ready. So only 2 rooms, it was in the building closest to the Parkway. Only 2 rooms were affected overall. There was 11 cordoned off, but I think only 2 rooms with major damage. So quick thinking, quick action, and it's going to help save that business going into the summer. So thank you. Canada Day celebrations are happening. Please check our website. Sealy's Bay has a bunch of stuff going on, and Sabera, I believe, is the one putting that on. There's also Ribfest in Gananoque, which is the Rotary and Lions that work together on that. And lastly, I would just say, just keep an eye out for slow moving vehicles that are on the road right now. Farmers are moving hay, farmers are chopping silage, doing a whole bunch of things. I know planting season's pretty much over, but they're still out there, and please be aware. There was a close call not too long ago, so just keep your eyes out. And if you're in that much of a hurry, put on a good song, sing along. So that's it. So I'll move forward to, announcements. Yeah, announcements. Anybody? Go ahead, Councillor Kelman, and then Councillor.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you. I just wanted to add that Sweets Corners Elementary School is celebrating its 50th anniversary this week on Wednesday. Everyone's welcome to drop by from 4:15 to 6 p.m., particularly former staff, students, and families. Should be a
Thank you.
nice celebration.
I will be there. I apologize. I'd forgotten about that. 50th anniversary. Yeah.
Seems like yesterday it was built. Sorry. Okay, for me, the farmers market in Gan starts this Thursday and runs all summer long. Doing a humankind day down on the berm on Saturday also, from 2 to 7. And then, as mentioned, the Ribfest Rotary and Lions, which is the 28th to the 1st, doing a Canada Day celebration there on their stage, duck drop, and then in the fall in the evening, I'm doing the Canada Day down on the berm with fireworks. Thank you.
Thanks. So, any other announcements? No. Do we need it? Okay. So I'm going to put a motion on the table that I'm not putting it on the table. I'm going to ask for a mover and a seconder that council meeting be held on June 17th, 2024, be extended beyond 9:30 p.m., no later than 10 p.m. So just doing that as a precaution. If we're able to get out of here by 9:30, that would be great. But if not, we're already not in contravention. So mover and a seconder, please. Maybe Jameson. Okay. All those in favor? All those opposed? And we're carried. Okay, so we're going to go in camera. So we thank our gallery. Are you sticking around to the end? Okay, so we'll go in the in-camera room. Oh, sorry. I apologize. I didn't put the motion on. Thank you. Councillor Jameson moves, and seconded by Deputy Mayor Fody, that council adjourn to go in camera in order to discuss an item that relates to in-camera session minutes, June 3rd, 2024, and a proposed or pending acquisition of or disposition of land by a municipality or local board land matter. All those in favor of the motion? All those opposed? Carried. Okay, sorry, we can go in camera now.